What's going on, everybody? It's Destiny Malibu and my co-host,
DJ Desi.
We are live from the Virgin Hotels Las Vegas, and we are so excited to be back. If you're new to the show and you haven't heard us before, it's the Destiny Malibu podcast, and we are a mental health focused podcast, and our goal is to talk about things that can help us all as individuals improve our lives, improve ourselves, and just become the best versions of ourselves possible.
Yeah, we want to have a little conversation with you, tell you about life experiences, how we get through them, and that's how we would like to share our mental health and how we get through things on our own, and hopefully share some tips for you guys as well.
Yes, absolutely. So the first topic that we are going to be discussing today is about confidence. So confidence is a really interesting topic, and it took, a minute for me as an individual to find where my confidence came from and how to really be in tune with myself and know that I can walk into a room and feel just powerful and strong. And
even though she was always probably the loudest in the room, I don't think anybody thought she had any confidence issues, because she would talk real loud. Teacher threw what was it, eraser or a marker
at my head a couple times.
We love her though,
because I talk too much, but but I mean, confidence is something that comes from within. It's a core thing, and Desiree has always been somebody that was kind of always like naturally just very confident. We've talked about this in an episode before in the past.
I have my moments of insecurity though, I will say that. I like to pretend like I'm the tough girl, like, nothing bothers me, but deep down, I cry sometimes.
You cry sometimes. I mean, like, I get that. Like, if you didn't cry sometimes, I would be more worried about you, to be honest. And, but so how do we cultivate like this core confidence where we can walk into any room and not just outwardly to other people come off as confident or come off as a certain way, but actually truly and deeply feel that way inside? Right. How can we cultivate that core confidence? So the first tip that we have for you is
about posture.
Yes.
And body language, which you don't want to slump over. You want to stand up tall.
Yes.
Shoulders back, relaxed. Something that you learn in yoga, and you have to remember and remind yourself, especially if you're not used to it, it's a habit, something that you practice every day.
Yes.
And stretching also helps, so that's something to keep in mind.
Yes, and if you're watching this right now, don't be afraid to just check your posture. Like she said, roll your shoulders back right now. As you're watching or listening to this, drop your shoulders and unclench your jaw and just relax. And if you didn't know this, body language is 55% of all communication. So your body language is immensely important to not only how you come off to other people, but how you feel about yourself. Right. There's actually studies that have shown that actually just standing, and they call it the Superman position. You know how Superman is always like this, or you notice the superheroes
always look super confident,
are always standing super tall in this type of pose, or up like this, because that body language not only is perceived as confident, but it internally makes you feel more confident.
Yeah.
If you stand like this for 3 minutes, you're wow, I feel like I run the world.
Yeah.
Listen to me now. It really does elevate your confidence. And I've had people come up to me a lot of times, and literally random people at a bar or something, and be wow, you come across so confident. And I always thought that was really fascinating, because I have worked really, really hard on becoming a more confident person. But I perceive one of the main reasons why people think that of me is because of how I stand.
And posture.
So posture, how I walk into a room, when I sit down, always my shoulders are down, I'm standing tall, chin a little bit up.
Except before the show when Mom was telling you to sit up tall.
I know. 99% of the time I have good posture, but right before we were filming this, apparently I was, I don't know, hunched over like a sloth, so now I'm not. Ironically talking about posture on the episode, but I do believe that is one of the main reasons why people interpret me that way. And I actually have found that, like, you know, especially as a woman, there's just like a beautiful free-flowing like femininity with just like free-flowingly like being elegant and comfortable in your body and how you're standing, because it's like so weird and it seems like so obvious, but like if you're like hunched over and you like look nervous and you're thinking like, oh my gosh, like, do people like me? Like, people like pick up on that. Like, even if you're not saying anything, people pick up on that.
It's in your aura, in your vibe, and people can sense it.
Right. And that brings us to the next point, which is like mindset. Like, mindset is so critical when it comes to confidence and core confidence, because okay, so if you're sitting there, right, like, in my opinion, these are like some of the steps to confidence on top of our 7 pillars of mental health, which is huge. But aside from that, to like specifically talking about how to boost your confidence, it's like, so okay, your shoulders are back, you're relaxed, you're standing tall, like long back of the neck, you know, like chin up, you're feeling good. Now, like, what work internally can we do now? So the external's looking good. Now, like, internally,
it's the mindset. What are you thinking?
Yes, like literally, what are you thinking about? Because it's so interesting, because we like to think that our thoughts are private, and they are, but also like what you think literally does exude out of your body. So if you're thinking, you know, like, for example, like a negative thought about somebody, like, you might even be making like facial expressions.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, unaware, where you're like signaling to that person that like you don't like them or like whatever.
Like, I've definitely been in a room where someone's like on the other side of the room. You either see them looking at someone and you can tell like, oh, they don't like that person over there for some reason.
Right. Yeah, like you can pick up on those things. And like literally, if you're sitting there thinking like, oh my gosh, does anybody like me, or like, you know, am I fitting in here, am I acting weird, people like can sense that like in your body language. But if you're sitting there thinking like, which I know sounds like narcissistic, but in order to like motivate yourself to feel confident, if you literally, it's like affirmations. Like, if you've heard of affirmations, you look in the mirror, you say, I am beautiful, or, you know,
strong.
I am confident. I am confident. Actually, like, verbally speaking those words into existence, like, has an effect on your body. So if you know, look in the mirror and you're like, wow, like, I am the hottest person in the world. Like, that sounds like intense. It's like, oh my gosh, how could you think that? But like, as long as you're continuing to be a nice person, like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with thinking that.
Boosting yourself. Be your own little starfish in your ear telling yourself happy words.
Yes. A reference to Aquamarine. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen Aquamarine, but there's a scene in that movie where she has on, like, she's a mermaid, she becomes a person, and she has on these earrings. And the earrings...
Actual starfish, and they say her name, Aquamarine. You're the most beautiful angel ever. You're so wonderful.
And she's like, oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, I am. So, you know, you can actually be that for yourself.
Be your own starfish. Give yourself a high five.
I had to give them background in case not everybody's seen Aquamarine, so they, like, know. But if you haven't seen it, like, shame on you. Because it's such a good movie. But... yeah, so like, it's a lot about mindset, confidence, and like, if you are telling yourself, I am sexy, I am loved, like, everybody wants me, like, even though that sounds like crazy, if you're thinking things like that, like, people perceive you the way you perceive yourself.
Right.
Like, this is just like a fact.
Yeah.
So if you perceive that you are cool and loved and lovable and worthy of love and likable, etc., like, people are going to believe that too, and it's attractive to see somebody love themselves that much.
Yeah, and you're like, I want to be like that.
Exactly, like, it's inspiring. Like, when
Yeah.
you see somebody so comfortable in their own skin, like, it genuinely is inspiring.
Yeah.
So that's one. It's like mindset. But then another addition I wanted to say about mindset is the concept that I think true core confidence also is like, yeah, like, it's a little bit of delusion. Like I said, if you're thinking like, I'm the hottest person in the world, because like, obviously, you know, there's lots of beautiful people out there, but you are the only
Version of yourself.
yes, the only version of yourself that exists, which is true,
And it's beautiful all in its own.
yes. And so the addition I want to say about mindset is also like true core confidence, I think, is understanding that being confident means being comfortable with failure, being comfortable with rejection, being comfortable. Okay, let's say that like there's someone super hot at a bar that you like, and you go up to them and they're like not giving you the vibe that they're interested. That's okay.
Yeah,
Like
that's okay.
that has no reflection on you. You could go into a Prada store and they're all Prada, but someone might say, "Ooh, I don't like this version." Does that mean that the bag is worth anything less? No. It's just not that person's cup of tea, and that's totally fine.
Right.
So realizing that rejection and failure has no reflection on who you are as a person,
Right.
and you don't allow that to shake your core confidence, I think that's a huge part of truly being confident, like being able to love and understanding that like loving means that you might get hurt. But
Yes.
that knowing that like regardless of what happens, no matter how many times you fail, no matter how many times you get rejected, no matter how many times you get hurt, that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that you've got your own back, and that you're confident, and you know that what's meant for you will come to you easily.
Right. And something that, you know, growing up, Dad always said, you're going to get 100 no's before you get a yes.
Yeah.
So you got to keep trying and don't give up.
Yeah, and it's perspective. That's such a good point. It's like, if you think like, oh my gosh, I got 100 no's, like I suck. That's a very different mindset of like, wow, I'm going to get 100 no's before I get a yes. One more no, I'm getting closer to the yes. You know what I mean? Like it's the same situation, but like a different mindset.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that like we have to exercise daily.
Yeah.
Because I know I myself, there's days where I wake up where I'm feeling super confident, and there's days where I have to give myself an extra 20 minutes to do words of affirmation and look in the mirror and love myself and encourage myself.
Yeah.
And every day is different.
Yeah.
And like we never really know like what we're going to be feeling that day. I think a lot of people can attest to that depending on what you ate, how much you slept, whatever. So,
Yeah.
you know, just remembering to realize that it's okay if things don't go your way, and
Yeah.
that you're like just at this like peacefulness with yourself and with whatever gets thrown at you in life. Last one that we're going to be talking about is seeking validation. So this one is a little bit complicated in the sense that if you know anything about love languages, like I'm a big words of affirmation person, and also a big physical touch person. So words of affirmation, you could consider that like validation, and it's something that feels good. Like everyone loves to receive a compliment, like an encouraging phrase, etc. But I think it took me a minute to like learn this and like hone in on the power of this concept. But like when you stop, like even though it's always going to be nice to receive a compliment from someone and to experience that, when you stop seeking validation from people and instead you validate yourself,
Yes. Give it to
that
yourself.
to me is like when like core confidence really peaks and just like goes through the roof.
Yeah.
Because if you're always relying on other people to tell you you have a nice outfit, or you look pretty tonight, or you're smart, if you're always relying, like that is not always going to be like a daily thing.
Right.
But if you're turning to yourself to validate yourself, and you look in the mirror and say like, wow, you're so beautiful, wow, you're so smart, you're so this, and you're no longer like you then become someone who's like, you're not seeking anything from anybody around you. Like you literally are not, you're so at peace within yourself. You're standing tall, you've got the mindset, you are validating yourself. So like someone comes around and like there's nothing really that they can give you that you can't give yourself.
Right.
And there's something like extremely powerful
Yes.
and it's like mesmerizing about that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like your song. Me, myself, and
Netflix.
yeah.
Yeah, my song "Me, Myself, and Netflix." If you haven't heard it, it's basically just talking about like working on yourself and building yourself up.
Yes. And that's how you build confidence.
Yes. And if you guys have any questions,
Please go to askdestinymalibu.com.
yeah, we love you guys so much, and we're so thankful to be at the Virgin Hotels Las Vegas. And if you know our mantra, we'd love for you to say it with us. We like to end our episodes with the mantra, which is, if you hate me, I love you. If you love me, I love you even more. You are not alone, and we are in this together. Love you guys so much, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye.